This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store, Forged Irish Stout, freebets.com. Delighted to be joined with a dentist, Mr. Tunde Ajayi, trying to move the dentist. What are we saying, man?
Hey, bro, I told you, this thing is getting faster. You know, a lot of these trainers, Joe, you know these trainers, they get to a certain age and the belly starts coming. You see them in the corner and they got the t-shirt, but you see the belly is over the... Bro, you gotta stay in shape. But when you got young fighters like Anthony Yarde and Joe Kadua, you have no choice but to stay in shape.
I've been hounding you for so long. I've been messaging you on your phone. Tunde, when can we get something? You've been locked in at a focus camp on February the 10th.
Oh, definitely, Lewis. You know, like, I think most people know that as much as I like to joke and have fun, I take my job very serious, and the only time I'm available is when it's press day. All this, come on, let's do a Zoom and let's chat. Nah. I'm not on that. This is professional fighting. You know, these young men entrust you really with their lives. You know, they entrust you to direct them, and I think it's only right that I give it everything. And so as a trainer, a manager, I'm always doing that. I'm giving it the best.
Well, we'll get on to the topic of Anthony Yarde. He is back out February 10th in another, in a fight that, this is an important fight because it could lead, for what it leads to. We see Joshua Buatsi versus Azeez this weekend. We see Callum Smith, he's openly talked about the Anthony Yarde fight. Important, as you said, you know, let's not overlook this, because for what we got to get through this first, because for what potentially could come after this.
Yeah, definitely. We ain't pulling that old Deontay Wilder thing on me. Sorry, thing. No, we're staying focused. We're not thinking about the fight after. We're thinking about what's in front of us, and all talks will resume for us after we take care of February the 10th. But it's a mouth-watering time. It's AY against the world. Every fight makes sense if it involves AY. Every fight is a blockbuster if it involves Anthony Yarde. You put those fighters, anyone. Look, Anthony Yarde against Buatsi, it's a stadium fight. Anthony Yarde against Callum Smith, it's a Saudi fight. It's a big fight up in London or Liverpool. Massive fight. Anthony Yarde against Chris Smith, it's a stadium fight. The vitality will have it at Crystal Palace or Arsenal. I know people will say, oh, see, you're not about Arsenal, but listen, it's AY. Anthony Yarde against Bivu, it's a big fight. A blockbuster fight. Anthony Yarde against Beterbiev, rematch, is a pay-per-view fight. The first fight was supposed to be pay-per-view, but the boxing world were not, they didn't really understand how good a fighter Anthony was. We won't, the fans won't make that mistake. If there was to be a rematch, I hope there is, because Anthony will definitely beat him this time. But the common denominator in all of those fights is Anthony Yarde. So that shows you the stock of Anthony Yarde, and it cannot be played down. It's just the reality of it. You put those same fighters against each other, yeah, it's a good fight, but no one ain't, oh yeah, let's get ready and watch that. No, you put Anthony against any of those guys, it's excitement guaranteed.
With you saying that then, you put Anthony against all these guys, do you feel like sometimes Anthony doesn't get the flowers and the credit? You yourself and Anthony don't really always get the flowers that you sometimes deserve. Anthony spoke in the scrum there, he said, you know, boxing isn't really something that, it's not a thankful sport. They don't really appreciate someone while they're here. So do you feel like Anthony sometimes doesn't get his flowers?
It depends in what way you're looking at it. Most stars are always respected more after their careers are over. Their achievements are respected more. And I think that where myself and Anthony are concerned is that we give off this aura so much fun and excitement, and we're always joking and laughing, that some people probably are under the impression that we're not serious about the sport of boxing. But that's like a serious paradox. It's like it doesn't even make sense. You know, you can't get to this level of the sport if you're not serious. And I just feel that the flowers will come when they're supposed to come. Whether that's while he's still active, I do believe they have come. The Beterbiev fight, again, it's been nominated for the fight of 2023 by the British Boxing Board of Control. And I know for myself personally, you know, the public kind of changed in terms of the perspective about myself. Anthony got the credit, as I know that he always should have got, from the wider public for his battle against Beterbiev. So the flowers will come. You know, listen, you can't really focus on that too much. You just got to do your job, know that you're giving it the best, and the flowers will eventually come at the end.
You mentioned the Beterbiev fight. It's been about a year since that fight. A year, I want to say, was it 28th of January? 28th of January. Been a year, I suppose 2 days ago was a year. When you look back on that now, it being a year, how much would yourself has grown and Anthony have grown since that fight?
Oh yeah, leaps and bounds. You know, you can buy a pair of Levi's. You can buy Levi's. Sounds like old, innit? What's the young boys wearing now? What clothes?
I don't know.
I just said Levi's, but man ain't rocking Levi's no more.
True Religion?
Huh?
Tracksuits.
Tracksuits, True Religion. yeah. But one thing you can't buy, young man Lewis, is experience. And the experience that we gained from the Arthur fight, from the Kovalev fight, is all the experience anyone who was thinking anything should know that we have now. And so it's just about still under 50 fighters, amateur and pro. Anthony Yarde is still relatively inexperienced, but he's good enough to have challenged for 2 world titles already. And the next time he does, we're going into that fight with all the experience under our belt, and Anthony will win a world title.
One thing that I did want to talk about with you, and Anthony actually spoke about it in a scrum there, and I think you heard what you were saying. When he fought, obviously, in the lead up to the Callum Smith fight with Artur Beterbiev, he returned an atypical finding for elevated levels of human growth hormone and elevated testosterone levels. Obviously, for someone of the age of 39, it is a concern. The Smith brothers all laid out their concerns. Liam, Paul, especially, were very vocal about it. With Anthony facing someone like that, when you look at that now, is it like what do you think of it? And is it a little bit of a bit of a concern? It's obviously not an adverse finding, but it's still sort of something that shouldn't be treated lightly.
It's always a concern, but more than a concern is it's very coincidental. And the reason why I say it's very coincidental is because I don't like to talk about anyone's business other than our own business. But if you look at when Anthony travelled to Russia to fight Kovalev, the initial date when the VADA testing was supposed to be in full swing was postponed. They gave us a new date and we fought and we know what happened. Now, fast forward 3 years or whatever it was, Anthony Yarde against Artur Beterbiev. The initial date was postponed. Now, Callum Smith, which is not my business, the initial date was postponed. So that's freeze. Things come in freeze. To me, that's more than coincidental. Why is it every time these young men are preparing themselves for an initial battle, it gets pulled? A toothache, this and that, there's something wrong. Why? That don't make no sense to me. And it's very suspect. What I can confirm, Joe, in Nigerian accent, what I can confirm was Sergey Kovalev was found guilty of drugs after he fought Anthony.
And I'm speaking to Anthony there, and him hearing that he's fought 2 Russian killers who've had it's been murky. Is it disheartening? Is it sort of disappointing that he worked so hard to be a world champion and he worked so hard to get to this position to sort of potentially be facing against guys who bend the rules where he doesn't do that?
First and foremost is God. I'm rolling with God. God first. God everything. I'm never gonna put no drugs cheat above my God. There's a lesson in it for us. Whatever way you look at it, that's how I see things. But when we talk about the here, the now, the reality, the scene, let's say because God is unseen, you know, the scene, it's very upsetting to think that a young man that has given his life to the sport could have lost because someone cheated. Let me put in that plain English where every man from the ends, Old Kent Road, Peckham, Brixton, Dalston, Dulwich, Housden, all the man them up Manchester. Let me put in that language. It will be very disheartening and upsetting to know that somebody who has given their life to the sport of boxing and who has lost twice against 2 Russians, that it was because of cheating. One Russian, Sergey Kovalev, confirmed drug cheat. I'm saying it. You can't sue me because it's the truth. Yeah. Beterbiev, I don't know.
Legally, we're not calling him a drug.
I don't know. He's not been found guilty. Apparently, VADA tested him clear after. But I want to know what raised HGA levels at the age of 38 is all about. Because I'm like, is a man got some new coca bread and patty, or some efori, some pounded yam, some new and improved pounded yam with a good recipe that us over 30 don't know about? Are those in Russia cooking up some salmon that we don't know about? It just all sounds funny to me, and I'm like, I can't discredit, I can't say a man's guilty when he hasn't been officially found guilty. All I know is that in the sport of boxing, the sport is so testing that there is no place for anyone who's enhancing their bodies with drugs.
I did want to move on to a topic that is very topical this weekend. Joshua Buatsi takes on Azeez. You aren't looking past February the 10th, but you have to have eye on it. A big domestic London showdown, a local derby in sort of in Anthony's division that I'm sure is something that he will be very interested in. Probably not in a disrespectful way to Azeez, but he's probably, you know, the Buatsi fight has always been talked about with him. And do you feel like Buatsi gets through this Saturday, Anthony gets through next Saturday, it only makes sense to potentially make that fight between him and Buatsi for sort of the local bragging rights, in a sense, something that we've always wanted to see since they both turned pro?
Well, first and foremost, it's an exciting fight. One I wish I could pay more attention to, but the mere fact that we're fighting the Saturday after, my attention to the fight has been limited. I know the fight is going on, obviously. It is a great fight, but as I say, I'm gonna keep saying it. It's Anthony Yarde against whoever is exciting. Whether it's Buatsi, whether it's Azeez. I've said the names at the top of this video. It's just AY. Anthony Yarde is the name. And those guys really need Anthony. Because that's why, remember, people who criticize, this is why you can't worry about flowers or non-flowers. Because in the end, yeah, which is not the end, that's the wrong word, but as it stands, Anthony Yarde is the fighter that you want to see others against. Whereas where you put them against each other, it's okay, but it's not popcorn and Pepsi Cola or Coca-Cola. None of them ain't giving money. Stamina water. Yeah. So it's interesting. I hope that it's a great fight. 2 young warriors, Azeez. I always look at Dan as like family. But they're just young guys from London who have been very dedicated to their careers, and it's a shame that they know each other so well and they have to fight each other, you know. But this is a competitive sport, and may the best man win. And let's see what happens after Anthony fights, and we can talk about all fights after that.
Well, I suppose I did just want to sneak in one last one. I suppose, and you know, you said you're not looking past everyone, it's Anthony versus everyone. We did see Matchroom and Queensberry announce the 5 versus 5. When you've seen the fantasy 5 versus 5, you know who's on top of the list, as you say. On the Queensberry side, Anthony Yarde is always on the top of the list against, you know, Callum Smith or Dimitri Bivol even. That must be something that you may look at as well when you see what's going on in Saudi Arabia. Anthony and yourself want a piece of that as well.
I mean, this is not really me now. It's AY. AY wants to fight. He's like, you can just, Ant is like, I'm ready. I want to fight these guys, but you know that's why he's on the poster, because it's Anthony against everybody. You see, the thing is that we were criticised for so long that now people are using the Beterbiev comparison in terms of the Callum Smith comparison and realise that, oh, so he wasn't old. It was just Anthony was that good. Anthony was, is, and will continue to be that good. So if Turkey Al Sheikh can put the money up and the fight makes sense, you know what time it is? It's lions in the camp.
Absolutely. Tunde, thank you for taking time to speak to me. You promised me you'd do something, and I always appreciate people who stick to their word. You're definitely one of them. Tunde, the dentist, thank you for taking time to speak to me. Appreciate it. And yeah, all the best for February the 10th, mate. Top man. Thank you, mate.
We need to think of a new advert for freebets.com.
Get your best betting offers from freebets.com.
Yeah, that'll do.
The following deals are now live.